Hey guys, welcome back to On the Fence. Did you miss me? I know you missed me. Well, I'm trying this little thing as a test here, so if you like it, you like it. I think you can comment. I'm not sure. I've got so many different things trying to come together here. We'll see if this works. But On the Fence, this is where common sense and intelligence come together, and I've been taking a break, you've noticed. There's a reason why we take a break. There's a reason why Rush Limbaugh is on vacation or whatever he's doing. And it's usually to just, maybe not in this case for him, but to take a breather and just kind of see what's important and prioritize and things like that. And honestly, it got to a point where it seems like nothing's changing, and we know that that's normal. And so, I told you that if you ever needed me, that I'd be here. But if you don't need me, then I'm going to be gone. Well, recent events in the last 3 weeks have really shocked me. Basically, in that some things have sparked my interest that got really deep, got really into things that I don't think I would be comfortable with, really talking about on live Facebook or anything like that. Well, at least that's what I was feeling. There's things like conspiracy theories and things like that are coming up that people just, are taking a look at and reanalyzing and stuff. It's very disturbing. And so I was listening to Rush Limbaugh's show yesterday, and unfortunately, Rush is out, but fortunately, the genius Mark Stein was standing in for him, of course. And, well, Mark Stein is a machine. He just is so quick, and he just has so much information to give to you, and he does it so cleverly that he always just is very entertaining, but so informative and so insightful, because especially yesterday, did he hit it on the head. The gaps. He describes the gaps. And what I take away from this, and the main thing is that you've got a gap between those who will not buy into the manufactured culture change, this needs to be changed, the politically correct, the Hollywood. And what I mean by not buying into it is that there's a very big population of conservatives that believe that all of that stuff is about false idols. It's about worshiping stuff that's not really what is a priority in your life. It's very clear to people who are religious or do read the Bible and things like that. Those things can be readily identified, and so they avoid those things. So it's no coincidence that you see the large population of conservatives avoiding things like going to NFL games at this point, going to see movies at Hollywood, all that's tired stuff that, they were willing to buy for entertainment's sake for a while. They're not buying it anymore. But then there's a whole half of the American population that is. And I think there's a big gap between those who buy it and those who won't. And in that side of people who will buy into the false idols, let's just put it that way, of fame and fortune, and there's many different layers underneath that they want fame, they want fortune, or they just want attention. They want someone to pay attention to them to make them feel special. For some reason, there aren't any more humble things that make them feel good about themselves. You've got to have that attention. If this weren't the case, we wouldn't have movies called Jackass and things like that. I mean, let's be real. But then under that, there's even more innocent layers of people on this side that buy into it, maybe unknowingly, but pretty much enabling it to happen because they buy it literally. They buy the products, they go to the movies, they watch their shows, because maybe that's all they, do. They say, I'm not a bad person. I'm not a drinker. I'm not a drug user. All I want when I get home from work is to watch my show. Happens to be on ABC or Freeform, whatever. I have to watch the show. I just have to watch it. I don't care what it's about. I don't care if it's bad for my mind. I don't care. So there's these people who are completely agnostic to the whole thing, but they're enabling it. And so they're on that side of buying into it. And it's a very far gap between those who are buying it and those who aren't. So much so that the people who are buying it will feel better about themselves. And when I say that, they just don't want to be wrong. They don't want to be called wrong for engaging in this side. Or whatever their behavior is, if it's watching TV or if it's sleeping with really weird, ugly monsters to get a movie part, they're all on this side of the gap. And they think everyone on this side of the gap is completely nuts and doesn't understand reality. And they're deplorable human beings. They are below civilized human beings at this point. They are against culture, literally. So these many gaps that Mark Stein has identified, it's just basically saying, these people on this side of the gap, we don't understand why you believe in these people who enable it, like the major players, the leaders. We don't understand why you believe them. We don't understand why you enable them. And the reason is that it just seems like, don't you know that these people are monsters? Don't you know that these people are bad representatives for young women? And maybe it's because it's just not out in the open to you. But now it is. Now you see the Weinstein scandal. Now you see the NFL players. And people aren't buying it. And they're showing the gap between, for example, the NFL. You're showing the manufacturing of the culture war, manufacturing of the product, which is football and NFL, versus the people who buy it. These people don't understand these people. And then within the NFL, you have a gap. You have the owners and then you have the players. And the owners don't understand the players, so the owners are pandering to the players, giving them whatever in the culture war booty they want. Pandering to them. And the politicians have a gap between the politicians and their people. The politicians don't understand the people because they don't have the same problems that these people do. So they pander to the people. Whatever the people say it is the problem. So the culture rules the political direction that we're going in. And if the culture is constantly being pandered to by these very powerful people, these leaders in politics and Hollywood, and then they are under the thumb of some of these people in politics and in Hollywood. I didn't have a choice. I was afraid to get fired. I was afraid to do it any other way. I need that richness. I need that fame. I need that fortune, and I'm willing to do anything to get the success. I'm willing to compromise on anything to get that success. So I'm going to ask questions later. I'm going to do, no pun intended, Harvey Weinstein and ask questions later. Because once I'm successful, then I can deal with it. Once I attain that trophy, then I can deal with it later. Maybe I can make up for it. Maybe I can donate my time in other third world countries and make filtration systems in Africa. But I won't go home back to mom and dad who told me not to go to Hollywood. They told me I was going to compromise myself. And I said, no, mom and dad, I'm going to go to Hollywood. I'm cool. I'm great. Don't you have any more faith in me than that? And they go and they immediately find out what they have to do to get success. And everyone knows about it. So you can't really say anything about it anyway. What was the point? You would just be white noise. So I understand why a lot of people didn't go forward. But isn't that sad that like one in how many millions of people who have gone through that town and been chewed up and spit out, and you've got like one person who stands up against Harvey Weinstein. We are definitely in a culture war, and that side is a huge population of people who are willing to compromise anything to get that a little bit of attention, to get that little bit of release, to get that little bit of Breaking Bad. And versus the other side. So let me just give you a little humorous section of like what I think we on this side, the people who will not buy into it, we feel very far removed. We feel like there's a very big gap between what we know is our world, what is going on in our world, and then all of these people. We think they don't know what is going on. They don't know what's going on in our world. They don't understand us at all. Why do they think we're insane? This is real. We have to pay bills. We have to worry about health care. We have to worry about taking our kids to school. We drive like 20 hours a day just to get to our jobs, just to make enough money so that we can budget, so we can understand what we're going to do in retirement. And then you look at these people. Let's look at Harvey Weinstein. He doesn't give a damn about any of those things. The gap. You see the gap? Hillary Clinton. She doesn't worry about any of these things. She doesn't worry about if she can give $20 to her kid because her kid has to go to school and buy a t-shirt or something. She doesn't care about those things. Budgeting? What? Personal budgeting? Personal responsibility? What? These people don't have that. They live in a different world. And yet all these little layers underneath in the gap world, they hero worship. I think that's what they call it. They hero worship. They celebrity worship. It's like, well, I love to listen to the rap music. I love to listen to Dr. Dre. And I'm actually, honestly, guilty of this. And I'll tell you, I went through a little real coming to Jesus moment when after I had my kids and I hadn't listened to, 3 6 Mafia in a while, I get back to listening to it and I'm like, what was I thinking? Listening to this. I'm like the weirdest white girl rapping ever. So you do not want to see that. It is just not an image you want in your head. So I will not do that to you. But what happened is that I was listening to that. I was repeating it. I was singing it and I was entertained by it because I kind of convinced myself that like Dr. Dre was sitting in, the living room with Snoop Dogg and they had their kids around and they were in their, house in their suburban, hill with gated community. And I felt identified with them. And I was like, they're really not bad people. This isn't really what they believe. It's just what they're singing about. It's art. And that's what I convinced myself of. And that's a gap. Because they are talking about that stuff. They are enabling that stuff. And me singing it is not helping. So there's the gap in reality between hero worship and buying into it and then realizing that you can't buy into it. For your ever-loving soul, you cannot buy into it. And then it gets into a more serious note that we'll talk about later. But on a non-serious note, this is how we feel. Let me just show you.
Let me get you some help, Truman.
Remember this scene?
Well.
Why do you want to have a baby with me? You can't stand me.
That's not true. Why don't you let me fix you some of this new Mococo drink? All natural cocoa beans from the upper slopes of Mountain Nicaragua, no artificial sweeteners.
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to?
I've tasted other cocos. This is the best.
What the hell does this have to do with anything? Tell me what's happening!
Well, you're having a nervous breakdown. That's what's happening.
You're part of this, aren't you?
Roman!
Meryl!
You are scaring me!
You're scaring me, Meryl. What are you gonna do? Dice me? Slice me or peel me? There's so many choices.
No! Do something!
What'd you say? Who are you talking to?
Nothing. I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything.
You said do something.
No, I didn't talk. I wasn't talking to anybody. Truman!
Talk to me!
I don't know anything. Please stop.
Stay where you are. Truman?
Oh, thank God.